Marcus Reed straightened his uniform as the transport shuttle docked with the massive space station. Through the window, he could see the Galactic Council headquarters stretching for miles, a gleaming structure that held representatives from hundreds of alien species. After 50 years of waiting, humanity finally had their invitation to join. Katie Walsh stood beside him, reviewing data on her tablet. She had been his assistant for 3 years now, and she knew him better than most. Remember, Marcus, stay calm, don't let them provoke you. Marcus smiled slightly. When have I ever lost my temper? Katie gave him a look. She remembered Afghanistan. She remembered the things he had done before becoming a diplomat, but she said nothing. The doors opened and they walked into the Grand Council chamber. It was enormous, with seats rising in circles like an ancient amphitheater. Hundreds of aliens filled the room, representing species that had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Humans were the newcomers, the babies of the galaxy. Ambassador Cole, the senior Earth representative, met them at the entrance. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. The ceremony starts in 10 minutes. Just smile, say thank you, and don't make waves. We've worked too hard to get here. Marcus nodded. He had his orders. Earth needed this seat at the table. They needed access to alien technology, trade routes, and protection treaties. One wrong word could set humanity back decades. The ceremony began with speeches from various council members. They talked about unity, cooperation, and the bright future of galactic civilization. Then came Earth's turn to be formally welcomed. That was when Princess Val Ara stood up. She was tall, nearly 7 ft, with blue-gray skin and eyes that glowed like embers. Her species, the Draxians, controlled 400 star systems and had one of the most powerful militaries in the galaxy. She wore armor decorated with medals from countless battles. I object to this admission, she said, her voice carrying across the chamber. The room fell silent. Ambassador Cole's face went pale. Princess Val Ara walked down to the center floor where Marcus and his team stood. She looked down at them with obvious contempt. Humans, you have been in space for barely a century. You control one system. My ancestors conquered 400 systems over 3,000 years. You are children playing with toys you don't understand. 1111. Marcus kept his expression neutral. He could feel every eye in the chamber on them. Katie's hand moved slightly, ready to step forward, but he raised his hand gently to stop her. Your species has contributed nothing to galactic civilization. Valara continued. You have no advanced technology. We need your military is laughable. Your diplomatic corps is inexperienced. She stepped closer, where Val Ara, towering over Marcus. You'll be gone in a minute, human. Your species will be a footnote consumed by stronger civilizations within a generation. Don't waste my time. Laughter rippled through parts of the chamber. Some aliens remained silent, uncomfortable but unwilling to contradict a Draxian princess. Others openly smiled at the humiliation. Marcus looked up at Valara calmly. He had been insulted before by better people than her. He had been shot at, blown up, and left for dead on 3 different planets. Words didn't hurt him anymore. Princess Valara, he said quietly, I appreciate your honesty. She blinked, surprised by his calm response. Your Right that we're new to space, Marcus. Continued, you're right that we control only one system, but you're wrong. About one thing, he paused, you don't know us yet, Valera laughed. Is that a threat, human? No, an observation. Marcus glanced at Ambassador Cole, who looked like he wanted to pull Marcus off the floor immediately. Actually, I have a proposal for you, Princess. Proposal? Vila crossed her arms, amused. A military exercise, a demonstration. One human ship against 3 of your warships. You choose which ships. If we win, you publicly apologize and Earth gets full voting rights on the Security Council. If you win, we withdraw our application for membership for 50 years. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Ambassador Cole looked like he might have a heart attack. Katie stared at Marcus like he had lost his mind. Princess Valera's eyes narrowed. You're serious? Completely. She studied him for a long moment. Marcus could see her mind working. To her, this was a perfect opportunity. She could crush humanity's hopes and prove Draxian superiority in one move. There was no way she could lose 3 Draxian warships against 1 human vessel. It would be a massacre. Except, she said, 3 of my heavy cruisers against your best ship. 3 days from now in the Chronos Belt. Agreed. Valera smiled coldly. Prepare to leave this chamber in shame. Human, your species' dream of joining the council ends in 3 days. She leaned down close to his ear and whispered, you'll be gone in a minute. Then she turned and walked back to her seat, supremely confident. The council dissolved into chaos. Ambassadors shouted questions. News feeds went wild with the story. Katie grabbed Marcus' arm as they left the chamber. Have you lost your mind? She hissed. 1 ship against 3 Draxian heavy cruisers. Those things can destroy planets. Dawn. Marcus waited until they were in a secure transport before answering. Ambassador Cole sat across from them, his face red with anger. Do you have any idea what you've done? Cole demanded. If we lose, Earth is finished on the galactic stage. Cole, we won't lose, Marcus said calmly. How can you possibly? Because they don't know what we can do. Marcus looked at Katie. Send a coded message to General Brooks. Tell him to activate the Nightfall. Captain Torres and his crew have 3 days to get to the Chronos Belt. Katie's eyes widened. You're really doing this? They wanted to see what humanity can do, Marcus said, looking out at the stars. Let's show them. Ambassador Cole stared at him. What's the Nightfall? Marcus smiled slightly. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a man who knew something others didn't, something we've been working on for 30 years, something no one else in the galaxy has. And what's that? Ghost. Captain Ryan Torres received the message while his ship drifted in the darkness beyond Neptune. The Nightfall was invisible even to Earth's own sensors. A shadow among shadows. He read the coded transmission twice before believing it. All hands battle stations, he said calmly into the intercom. We're going to war. His crew had trained for this moment for 5 years. Every person on board was a volunteer, chosen from thousands of applicants. They were the best pilots, engineers, and tactical officers humanity had. They were also the only ones who knew what the Nightfall could really do. Lieutenant Amy Park looked up from her weapons console. Sir, are we really fighting 3 Draxian heavy cruisers? That's the order. 3 against 1, she laughed. Nervously, someone's going to be very surprised. Ryan allowed himself a small smile. Yes, they are, back on the council station. Katie worked through the night. In their secure quarters, she pulled up classified files that most humans didn't know existed. Project Nightfall had started 30 years ago, right after humanity's first contact with aliens. Earth's leaders had realized something important. Humans were surrounded by species that had thousands of years of technological advancement. Some were friendly, but others, like the Draxians, saw humans as primitives, potential slaves, or conquest targets. So humanity had made a choice. Instead of trying to match alien technology with brute force, they would do what humans did best. They would be clever, they would be sneaky. They would win through strategy instead of strength. Project Nightfall was the result. While other species built bigger ships with more guns, humanity built ships that couldn't be seen. While aliens relied on shields and armor, humans developed weapons that bypassed both. While other civilizations fought with honor and glory, humans fought to win. Katie had been part of the intelligence division that mapped alien military capabilities. For 20 years, human merchant ships had visited alien worlds. They traded goods and made friends, but they also scanned military bases, recorded ship specifications, and studied battle tactics. No one suspected. Humans seemed harmless, eager to trade and learn. No one imagined they were preparing for war. Marcus joined her in the early morning hours. He hadn't slept. How's the analysis? Draxian heavy cruisers are exactly what we expected, Katie said. Heavy armor, plasma cannons, and shields strong enough to withstand nuclear weapons. Each one carries 500 crew members and enough firepower to glass planet. Weaknesses: their shields need massive power generators. If we can disrupt those generators, the shields collapse. Their sensors are good, but they're designed to track large objects. They've never fought anything like the Nightfall. Marcus nodded. This was what he had counted on. The Draxians were powerful, but they fought the way they always had. They believed in overwhelming force and direct confrontation. They couldn't imagine an enemy that would refuse to fight that way. What about Princess Val? He asked. Katie pulled up another file. Interesting case. She's the Emperor's oldest child, heir to the throne, brilliant military mind, decorated combat veteran, but she's never faced an enemy she couldn't see or understand. Her tactics are all about force and intimidation, so she'll expect us to either run or try to fight head-on. Exactly. Marcus looked at the star charts. The Chronos belt was an asteroid field in neutral space, far from any inhabited systems, perfect for a battle. That might get messy. She has no idea what's coming. On the Draxian flagship, Princess Vila met with Commander Vila, the officer who would lead her 3 cruisers into battle. He was a veteran of 100 engagements, scarred and experienced. The humans have 1 ship. Vila asked. That's what they claim. What class? Val pulled up what little information they had. They call it a destroyer, about 400 m long, standard weapons as far as we can tell. Vila laughed. My cruisers are each 1500 m long. This will be over in minutes. My cruisers, don't underestimate them, Valara said, though she didn't really believe they posed a threat. Humans are known for being unpredictable. Unpredictable doesn't win battles. You're Highness firepower does, Val Aura nodded. In 3 days she would humiliate humanity in front of the entire galaxy. They would learn their place, the small, weak species always did, eventually. Across the galaxy, General Nathan Brooks sat in his office deep underground in Colorado. He had been expecting this moment for years. Marcus Reed was one of his best people, and Brooks had given him permission to provoke a confrontation if the opportunity arose. The Nightfall is en route, his aide reported. Captain Torres estimates arrival in 60 hours. What about the other assets? 47 Ghost ships on standby, sir. If things go wrong, they won't, Brooks said firmly. Torres knows what he's doing, and if the Draxians could detect our ships, they would have found them by now. For 30 years, Earth had been building a secret fleet, ships that used technology no other species had developed. Quantum stealth systems that bent light in sensor waves around the hull, silent engines that left no energy signature, weapons that could strike from impossible distances. The aliens thought humans were harmless because they only saw what humans wanted them to see. A few patrol ships, some cargo vessels, basic defensive platforms around Earth. They had no idea about the Ghost fleet, scattered throughout the solar system and beyond. Brooks looked at the countdown clock. 3 days until the battle, 3 days until the galaxy learned what humans were really capable of. Dr. Lisa Chen was already at the Chronos belt. Aboard a monitoring station, she was officially there as a scientific observer studying asteroid formations. In reality, she was placing quantum markers throughout the belt, invisible beacons that the Nightfall could use for navigation and targeting. The Draxians will scan this entire area before the battle, her assistant said nervously. They won't find anything, Lisa assured him. Our markers are the size of grains of sand and emit no energy. They're waiting. This seems like cheating. Lisa smiled. In war there's no such thing as cheating. There's only winning and losing. The Draxians chose this battlefield. We're just using it better than they can. As the hours counted down, news of the challenge spread across the galaxy. Thousands of observers requested permission to watch. Betting pools opened on dozens of worlds. The odds were heavily against humanity. Most aliens gave Earth less than a 5% chance of winning. On Earth, people watched the news with mixed emotions. Some were proud that humanity was standing up to alien arrogance. Others were terrified of the consequences if they lost. Everyone wondered what Marcus Reed had been thinking, but in secure military facilities around the solar system, thousands of men and women who knew the truth prepared for what came next. Pilots ran simulations. Engineers checked weapon systems. Intelligence officers reviewed Draxian tactical doctrines one more time. They had trained for this. They were ready. The Nightfall crossed into the Chronos belt 12 hours early. Captain Torres brought his ship to a complete stop. Every system running silent to any sensor in the galaxy. There was nothing there, just empty space and rocks. All stations report ready, Amy Park said. Quietly, Ryan looked at his crew. They were young, determined, and about to make history. Remember what we're fighting for. Not glory, not revenge. We're fighting so that humanity never has to bow to anyone, so that when we speak, the galaxy listens. He activated the shipwide comm. This is the captain. In approximately 60 hours, 3 Draxian warships will enter this belt, expecting an easy victory. Let's show them why you never underestimate a human. The Kronos belt was crowded with observation ships from across the galaxy. Representatives from 50 different species had come to watch what everyone expected would be a quick Draxian victory. Camera drones filled the space between asteroids, ready to broadcast the battle across 1,000 worlds. Princess Valera watched from her flagship positioned safely outside the combat zone. She wore her full ceremonial armor, ready to make her victory speech. Around her, advisors and officers waited with barely concealed excitement. The human ship should arrive any moment, her tactical officer reported. Valera nodded. Inside the belt, Commander Velka's 3 heavy cruisers moved into formation. Each ship was massive, bristling with weapons and shielded by enough energy to withstand sustained bombardment. Their crews were veterans, confident and ready. A jump portal opened at the edge of the belt. The Nightfall emerged and, for exactly 3 seconds, every sensor in the area locked onto it. The ship was smaller than expected, sleek and dark. Then something strange happened. The Nightfall vanished, sensor contact lost. The tactical officer said, confused. Recalibrating. Was recalibrating. Valera leaned forward. What do you mean, lost? The human ship is gone from all sensors. Your Highness, we're scanning the entire belt, but there's nothing there in the combat zone. Commander Vila frowned at his own displays. All ships full sensor sweep. Find that ship. 3 massive cruisers activated their most powerful scanners, flooding the asteroid belt with detection beams. They found rocks, ice, and empty space. No human ship. They're hiding behind asteroids. Vila decided. Move to search pattern Alpha. Flush them out. The cruisers spread out, moving through the belt methodically. Their sensors probed every shadow, every cluster of rocks. Minutes passed, then 10 minutes, then 20. On the observation ships, confusion spread among the alien spectators. Where had the human ship gone? Had it malfunctioned? Run away? Marcus watched from the council station, his face expressionless. Katie stood beside him, her hands clenched with tension. Around them, dozens of alien ambassadors watched the feeds with various expressions of curiosity and contempt. Your ship appears to have fled. Princess Valera's voice came through the communication channel. Do you concede defeat? Marcus activated his microphone. The battle hasn't started yet, Princess. We're just getting into position. Valera laughed. Into position? You're not even on our sensors. Exactly, Marcus said quietly. Aboard the Nightfall, Captain Ryan Torres watched his tactical display. The 3 Draxian cruisers were exactly where he wanted them. His ship drifted silently, less than 2 km from the nearest cruiser, completely invisible. Target lock confirmed, Amy Park whispered. Quantum means deployed. Awaiting your order, sir. Ryan had waited long enough. Execute Phase 1. The first Draxian cruiser's shield suddenly collapsed. Every alarm on the bridge screamed at once. Commander Vila spun toward his engineering station. What happened? Shield generator is offline. Some kind of energy drain. We don't understand. Raise backup shields. But before they could, railgun rounds struck the cruiser's engines with surgical precision. Not enough to destroy the ship or kill the crew, but enough to It completely, the massive vessel went dark, drifting helplessly. Contact. The second cruiser's sensors finally picked up something, a brief flicker of energy. They fired everything they had. At the location, they hit an empty asteroid. The nightfall had already moved, ghosting through the belt like smoke. Amy Park armed the electromagnetic pulse weapon, a device that took 30 years of research to develop. It could fry every electronic system on a ship without leaving a visible beam or trace. Second target locked fire. The pulse was invisible. Traveling at light speed, it hit the second Draxian cruiser, dead center. Every light on the ship went out. Engines died, weapons fell silent, life support switched to emergency batteries. The crew was alive but floating blind and helpless in space. Commander Vila, aboard the third and final cruiser, realized with cold horror what was happening. The humans hadn't run. They were hunting. All power to sensors. Find them. His crew worked frantically, but their technology was never designed to detect a ship that generated almost no energy signature and absorbed sensor beams instead of reflecting them. The nightfall was a hole in space, undetectable until it wanted to be seen. Sir, the humans are hailing us, his communications officer said. Put them through. Captain Tor's voice was calm, almost friendly. Commander Vila, this is Captain Tor's of the Nightfall. Your two sister ships are disabled, but intact. Your crews are safe. I'm offering you a chance to surrender. Power down your weapons, and I give you my word, no harm will come to you or your people. Vila's face twisted with rage. Never, I will not surrender to primitives. He turned to his weapons. Officer, activate the planet killer. Full charge. The planet killer was the Draxian's ultimate weapon, a massive cannon that could crack a world's crust. It took enormous energy to fire, and charging it made the ship vulnerable. But Vila was beyond caring about tactics. Now, he would not be humiliated by humans. Planet killer charged. Sir, fire a spread pattern, blanket the entire sector. They can't hide from that. The massive weapon fired, unleashing destruction across a huge area of the asteroid belt. Dozens of rocks vaporized instantly. The energy discharge was so bright that observation ships had to filter their cameras. When the light faded, the nightfall was still nowhere to be seen. On the observation ships, alien spectators were silent. Now what they were watching made no sense. 3 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy were being systematically destroyed by an enemy they couldn't even see. Princess Ara gripped her chair's armrests so hard they cracked. This is impossible. Ryan Tors watched the planet killer's energy signature fade on his displays. The weapon had drained the Draxian cruiser's power reserves significantly. Perfect, Amy. Load the kinetic package. Let's finish. This kinetic package loaded, sir. The kinetic package was beautifully simple. Take a dense asteroid, attach a small engine to it, and accelerate it to a significant fraction of light speed. No energy weapons to detect, no warheads to intercept, just mass and velocity, the oldest weapons in the universe. The Nightfall had positioned such an asteroid 30 minutes ago, well before the Draxians arrived. Now it was time to use it. Fire the asteroid, no bigger than a car, shot through space at relativistic speeds. By the time Draxian sensors detected it, there was no time to react. It struck the cruiser's main reactor with pinpoint accuracy. The explosion was massive but controlled. The reactor's safety systems contained the blast just enough that the ship broke apart instead of vaporizing. Escape pods launched automatically, carrying the crew away from the dying vessel. Commander Vila floated in his escape pod, watching his ship tear itself apart. Around him, hundreds of other pods drifted, carrying his crew to safety. No one had died, but his pride was destroyed more thoroughly than any weapon could manage. The Nightfall, decloaked, appearing in the center of the battlefield. It was undamaged, its weapons cold. It had fought 3 heavy cruisers and taken exactly 0 hits. Captain Torres opened a channel to all ships, observers, and Draxians alike. This is Captain Ryan Torres of the Earth vessel Nightfall. The engagement is concluded. All Draxian crew are safe and will be recovered by their own forces. The terms of the challenge have been met. On the observation ships, no one spoke. Aliens who had been certain of human weakness now saw something that terrified them. Not just advanced technology, but a completely different way of thinking about warfare. Princess Val'Ara sat frozen in her chair. She had expected a quick victory. She had expected to mock humanity before the galaxy. Instead, she had been given a demonstration that would haunt her for the rest of her life. 3 heavy cruisers disabled in 18 minutes, 0 human casualties, and the human ship had been invisible the entire time. Marcus Reed's voice came through her personal comm. Princess Valera, I believe you owe Earth an apology, and the galaxy owes us a seat at the table. Valera closed her eyes. She had insulted them, called them weak, told them they would be gone in a minute. She had been so very, very wrong. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I do. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within hours, every inhabited world knew what had happened in the Chronos Belt. The recordings were watched billions of times. Military analysts from a 100 species studied every second of the battle, trying to understand what they had witnessed. Emperor Draxus, ruler of the Draxian Empire, watched the footage in his private chambers. He had seen it 6 times now, and each viewing made his blood run colder. 3 of his finest warships, commanded by experienced officers, had been defeated without landing a single shot on the enemy. Bring me everything we know about human military capabilities, he ordered his intelligence chief. What they found over the next 2 days terrified the Empire to its core. A senior analyst, a scarred veteran named Theeks, presented the findings to the Emperor's War Council. Your Majesty, we severely underestimated the humans. For the past 20 years, we believed they had only basic defensive capabilities. Few patrol ships, orbital platforms around their home world. We were wrong. How wrong? The Emperor demanded. We believe they have at least 50 ships similar to the Nightfall, possibly more. And that's just what we can estimate from energy consumption patterns in their solar system. There may be others we haven't detected. A council member stood. 50 ghost ships, that's enough to weigh war on a galactic scale. It gets worse. Vex continued. He activated a holographic display. We've reviewed all human activity over the past 30 years. Their merchant vessels visited hundreds of our worlds. We welcomed them, traded with them, showed them hospitality. But now we realize what they were really The display showed human ship, movements overlaid with military installations and defensive networks. The patterns were unmistakable. They were mapping us, the Emperor said. Quietly, yes, Your Majesty. They have detailed scans of our military bases, ship designs, weapon systems, and tactical doctrines. They know our strengths and, more importantly, our weaknesses, every single one. The room fell silent. Princess Aura, who had been summoned to attend, felt sick. She had called humans primitives. She had mocked their inexperience, and all along they had been studying the Draxians like scientists studying insects. Why didn't they attack? Another council member asked. If they have this capability, why? Wait, Theeks pulled up another file. Because they're not conquerors. We've analyzed human history and culture extensively over the past 2 days. Humans are exceptionally good at warfare, yes. They've spent 10,000 years perfecting it on their own world, but they don't fight for glory or expansion. They fight for survival and security. Then what do they want? Respect, Thex said simply. Want to be treated as equals, not dismissed as children. They demonstrated their military power not as a threat, but as proof that Earth cannot be bullied or conquered. Emperor Draxus leaned back in his throne. He was old, and he had ruled through strength and intimidation for 50 years, but he was not stupid. He understood what had happened. My daughter insulted them publicly. They could have destroyed our ships and killed thousands. Instead, they disabled the vessels and saved every crew member. That's not the action of a vengeful species. No, Your Majesty, Thex agreed. It's the action of a species that wants peace but is fully prepared for war. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other powers were reaching similar conclusions. The Peaceful Ascendancy Coalition held an emergency meeting of their leadership. Ambassador Trell, a diplomat from a species that had avoided conflict for centuries, reviewed intelligence reports with growing amazement. They've been protecting our trade routes for at least 10 years, his aide confirmed. Those pirate attacks that mysteriously stopped in the Outer Rim, human intervention. The raiders that disappeared without a trace near our mining colonies, human ghost ships. They never asked for payment or recognition. They just did it. Trell was stunned. Why? We dismissed them as unimportant. We barely acknowledged their presence at council meetings. We don't know. Ambassador, it appears they simply saw a problem and fixed it. They have a saying on Earth: do the right thing even when no one is watching. Trell sat in silence for a long moment. His people prided themselves on being enlightened and peaceful, but when had they protected others without being asked? When had they helped simply because it was right? I need to speak with Ambassador Reed, he said finally. Back on the council station, Marcus Reed was drowning in meeting requests. Every major power wanted to talk to Earth now. Species that had ignored humanity for decades suddenly wanted treaties, trade agreements, and military partnerships. Katie managed his schedule, turning down most requests. The Draxian Emperor wants a private audience with you and Princess Valera. Except that one, Marcus said. Anything else important? The Ascendancy Coalition wants to thank you for protecting their trade routes. They had no idea. Marcus shrugged. It was the right thing to do. They're offering a mutual defense pact and full technology sharing. We'll consider it, but make it clear we're not doing it for rewards. Katie looked at Him curiously. Why did we protect their roots? Command. Never explain that to me, Marcus smiled. Because the ascendancy are peaceful. People who contribute beauty and culture. To the galaxy, they shouldn't have to worry about pirates. Someone needed to help them, and we could. Simple as that. You know, most species don't think that way. Right, I know, that's going to be our advantage in the long run. We don't just think about what we can take. We think about what we can give. The meeting with Emperor Draxus was scheduled for the next day. Princess Ara arrived at the neutral meeting room early, wearing simple clothes instead of armor. She looked tired and somehow smaller than before. When Marcus entered with Katie, Valara stood immediately. Ambassador Reed, I owe you an apology. You already apologized publicly. Princess, the terms were met. No, she said firmly. That was politics. This is personal. She took a deep breath. I was arrogant and ignorant. I judged your entire species based on assumptions and prejudice. I called you weak without knowing anything about you. That was wrong, and I'm ashamed. Marcus studied her face. The pride was still there, but it was tempered now with something new. Humility. Understanding. Apology accepted, he said, extending his hand. Valor looked at the gesture, then clasped his hand. I've spent the last 3 days studying human history and culture. Your species has survived ice ages, plagues, wars that killed millions. You've faced extinction multiple times, and always found a way to continue, and yet when you had the chance to kill my people, you chose mercy. Why? Because killing should always be the last resort, not the first, and because we knew that someday we might need friends. Out here among the stars, you can't make friends with corpses. Valara actually smiled at that. My father wants to meet with you. He has a proposal. Emperor Draxus entered the room a moment later. He was old but still powerful, moving with the confidence of someone who had ruled for decades. He looked at Marcus with sharp, intelligent eyes. Ambassador Reed, you gave my empire a lesson. Humility. I want to thank you. Marcus blinked. Thank me? Yes, we've grown complacent, arrogant. We assumed our military superiority was absolute. You showed us we were wrong, and you did it without massacring our people. That's the mark of a wise species. He paused. I'm offering an alliance, not submission, not dominance, partnership between equals. Why? Marcus asked bluntly. Because I'm old and I've learned something over the years. The strongest empires aren't built on conquest alone. They're built on cooperation with the right partners. And you humans might be new to space, but you understand things we've forgotten, such as that showing mercy is harder than showing strength, that protecting others without demanding payment builds loyalty, that the best warriors are the ones who fight only when necessary. The Emperor smiled slightly. You're going to change the balance of power in this galaxy, Ambassador. I'd rather have you as a friend than an enemy. Marcus looked at Katie, who gave a slight nod. They had discussed this possibility. We're interested in an alliance, Your Majesty, but we have conditions. Name them. First, no aggression towards smaller species or independent worlds. Second, support for Earth's full council membership with voting rights. Third, cultural and military exchanges so we can learn from each other. Done, the Emperor said. Immediately, I'll announce the alliance tomorrow. Together, Earth and the Draxian Empire will be a force for stability in the galaxy. After the Emperor left, Valara remained behind. Ambassador, may I ask you something? Personal, of course. Did you know I would eventually become your ally? Was this all planned? Marcus considered the question carefully. I hoped. Humans are good at war, Princess, but we're even better at turning enemies into friends. We've done it throughout our history. We fought Germany and Japan in massive wars, then became their closest allies. We've learned that yesterday's enemy can be tomorrow's partner if you give them the chance. And if I hadn't changed, if I remained your enemy, then we would Clear's throat have defended ourselves and our allies, but we would never have stopped hoping you'd change your mind. He smiled. That's the thing about humans. We're optimists. We believe people can be better than their worst moments are. Nodded slowly. I'll remember that. And Ambassador, thank you for not giving up on me after she left. Katie turned to Marcus. Do you really believe all that about turning enemies into friends? Yes, Marcus said simply, because the alternative is endless conflict and humans are tired of fighting. We've spent millennia at war with ourselves. Now we want something better, peace, progress, a galaxy where different species work together. You think it's possible? Marcus looked out at the stars through the meeting room window. 3 days ago, a Draxian princess told me humans would be gone in a minute. Now we're forming an alliance with their empire. If that's possible, anything is. 6 months after the battle at Chronos Belt, Marcus Reed stood in the Grand Council chamber once again, but this time everything was different. Earth had a permanent seat on the Security Council. Now human representatives sat alongside the galaxy's most powerful species as equals. The flag of Earth hung in the Hall of Nations, no longer a provisional member but a full participant in galactic civilization. Today was the formal signing of the Human Draxian Alliance Treaty. Princess Valara entered the chamber to applause. She had spent the past 6 months working with her brother Prince Callus to reform the Draxian military. They were studying human tactics and strategy, incorporating lessons learned from the Chronos Belt disaster. But more importantly, Ara had become Earth's strongest advocate in the Draxian Empire. She spoke at Militarimes about the danger of underestimating opponents. She wrote articles about the importance of respecting all species, regardless of how new or small they seemed. She had become something no one expected, humble. Ambassador Reed, she said, greeting Marcus warmly. Are you ready to make history? I think we already did that 6 months ago, Marcus replied with a smile. Today, we're just making it official. The ceremony began with speeches from both sides. Emperor Draxus spoke about the strength that comes from unity and the wisdom of recognizing worthy partners. President Sarah Chen, Earth's leader, spoke via hologram about humanity's dream of a peaceful galaxy where all species thrive together. Then came the signing. Marcus and Valara put their marks on the treaty, officially binding their peoples in alliance. The chamber erupted in applause from hundreds of alien delegates, but the real change wasn't in the treaty. It was in the minds of those watching. After the ceremony, Ambassador Trell from the Ascendancy Coalition approached Marcus. I wanted to speak with you privately, if you have time. They moved to a quiet observation deck overlooking the station's massive gardens. What can I do for you, Ambassador? Marcus asked. I wanted to apologize, Trell said softly. My people dismissed you when you first arrived. We saw humans as unimportant, as newcomers who had nothing to offer. We didn't even investigate when you asked about trade agreements, I remember. Then we discovered you'd been protecting our shipping lanes for years without being asked, without payment, without even telling us. Trell's eyes showed genuine emotion. Why did you do it? Marcus thought about how to explain. On Earth, we have a story about a good neighbor, someone who helps not because they expect something in return, but simply because it's the right thing to do. Your people contribute beauty and culture to the galaxy. You make art, music, philosophy that enriches everyone. You shouldn't have to worry about pirates destroying that contribution, but we never thanked you. We never even acknowledged your presence. We didn't do it for thanks. Marcus said gently, we did it because your ships carried families, scientists, artists, people who deserve to travel safely. That's reason enough. Trell was quiet. For a long moment, humans are strange. Most species in the galaxy operate on exchange principles. You give something, you expect something back, but you protect others without demanding payment. You show mercy to enemies, you turn down bribes and offers of power. Why? Marcus smiled. Because we learned the hard way that the universe doesn't owe us anything. For most of our history, we fought each other over resources, territory, and pride. Millions died. Pointless conflicts. Eventually, we realized that cooperation creates more value than competition, that helping others without expecting return builds trust, that mercy is stronger than cruelty in the long run. And now you're bringing that philosophy to the galaxy. We're trying. We don't expect everyone to think like us, but maybe we can show that there's another way to live among the stars. Trell extended his hand in the human gesture. He had learned the ascendancy would be honored to call Earth a friend. Quote. Marcus shook his hand. The honor is ours. Later that evening, Marcus and Katie sat in their quarters, reviewing the day's events. 40 new treaty requests, Katie said, scrolling through messages. 20 species want military consultations, 15 want technology exchanges. The Corvan Federation is offering exclusive mining rights to 3 systems. If we'll train their defense forces, turn down the mining rights. Marcus said, we don't need to profit from security services, but accept the training request. The Corans are good people. You're going to give away every advantage we have, Katie said, but she was smiling. No, I'm going to build something better than advantage. I'm going to build trust. Marcus looked at the star charts displayed on their wall. Every species we help becomes a partner. Every partner becomes an ally. Eventually we'll have a network of cooperation across the galaxy that's worth more than any amount of wealth or territory. Very idealistic maybe, but it's working, isn't it? Katie couldn't argue with that. In 6 months, Earth had gone from being dismissed as insignificant to being one of the most influential powers in galactic politics, not through conquest or intimidation, but through competence and character. The next day, Marcus received a surprise visitor. Princess Valera arrived without announcement, looking nervous. Is everything all right? Marcus asked. I need advice, she said. Something I never thought I'd ask a human for. What's troubling you? My father wants me to lead a diplomatic mission to the outer territories. There are several independent systems that have been considering joining the Empire. In the past we would have simply conquered them if they refused. But now, after learning from you, I want to do it differently. She looked at him earnestly. How do you convince people to join you willingly? Marcus considered the question. You show them what they gain by partnership, not what they lose. By refusing, you respect their independence and culture. You offer mutual benefits, not one-sided deals. And most importantly, you prove that you'll keep your word. That's very different from Draxian tradition. I know, but which approach builds a stronger alliance? One based on fear or one based on respect? Valara nodded slowly. Respect. Fear only lasts until someone stronger comes along, but respect can last forever. Exactly. Those independent systems will be watching to see if the Draxian Empire has really changed. Show them it has. Show them you're not conquerors anymore, but partners, and if they still refuse, then you respect that choice and remain friendly. Some bridges take time to build. Valara stood to leave, then paused. Ambassador, do you remember what I said to you 6 months ago, that you'd be gone? In a minute, I remember. I was wrong about everything. Humans aren't going to disappear. You're going to be one of the great powers of this galaxy, and not because of your ghost ships or your weapons, because of this. She gestured at the space between them. Because you see other species as potential friends instead of obstacles or resources. After she left, Marcus stood at his window, watching ships come and go from the station. Human vessels now traveled freely among the stars. Welcomed on 1,000 worlds, the ghost fleet remained hidden, ready but unused. Earth's strength was known, but rarely displayed. That was exactly how he wanted it. Captain Ryan Torres contacted him later that day. The Nightfall had just completed a joint patrol with 3 Draxian cruisers, the same ships they had faced at Chronos Belt. How did it go? Marcus asked. Better than expected, Ryan said, grinning. Commander Vila invited my officers to dinner on his ship. They traded war stories and tactical theories. I think we're actually friends now. Good, that's what this was all about, sir. The crew wants to know when we'll see action again. They train for war, hopefully. Never, Marcus said, but if war comes, we'll be ready. Until then, we protect, we patrol, and we build relationships. That's our mission now. Understood, sir. Tours out. Never tours out. Marcus turned to Katie, who had been listening. Do you think it will last? This peace we're building? I don't know, she admitted. The galaxy is a big place. There will always be conflicts, threats, and challenges, but I think humans have given the galaxy something it needed, a different perspective, a different way of thinking about power and relationships. She smiled. Maybe we're not just joining galactic civilization. Maybe we're changing it. Marcus looked out at the stars again. Earth's sun was invisible from here, just one star among billions, but humanity's influence was spreading, not through conquest but through example. Other species were watching and learning. The galaxy was changing slowly but surely. You know what the best part is? Marcus said. Princess Val thought we'd be gone in a minute. Instead, we're going to be here for a very long time, not as conquerors or rulers, but as friends and partners and teachers. Katie added, half the Militarumies in the galaxy want human instructors now. We'll send them. We'll teach what we know about strategy, tactics, and technology, but more importantly, we'll teach what we learned from centuries of conflict on Earth, that violence should always be the last resort, that mercy is a strength that yesterday's enemy can be tomorrow's friend. You really believe that will work on a galactic scale? Marcus smiled. It's already working. Look around. 6 months ago we were nobody. Now we're building alliances, protecting trade routes, and helping establish a new era of cooperation. If humans can change the thinking of an empire like the Draxians, we can change the galaxy. And to Talpin sighed. Katie raised her glass of water in a toast to humanity, then the species that nobody expected. Marcus clinked his glass against hers. To humanity, may we never lose sight of what makes us special. And what's that? Hope. No matter how bad things get, no matter how powerful our enemies, humans never stop hoping for something better. We believe peace is possible. We believe enemies can become friends. We believe a better galaxy can exist. He looked out at the stars one more time. And now we're going to prove it. And outside the station, human ships and Draxian cruisers patrolled together, protecting the trade lanes and keeping the peace. The nightfall drifted invisibly among them, watching and ready. The ghost fleet remained scattered across the galaxy, unseen but ever present. Humanity had arrived among the stars, not with conquest or domination, but with competence and character. They had shown the galaxy that power without wisdom is meaningless, that mercy is not weakness, and that the best victories are the ones where everyone wins. Princess Valara had said humans would be gone in a minute. She had no idea who she'd insulted. She had insulted a species that survived extinction events, world wars, and their own worst natures, a species that learned from every failure and never gave up hope for a better future. She had insulted humanity, and humanity had responded not with anger but with grace, not with destruction but with friendship, not with pride but with patience. That was the lesson the galaxy would learn. Over the coming years, humans were dangerous. Yes, their military capabilities were extraordinary, but what made them truly formidable wasn't their weapons or technology. It was their refusal to give up on peace, even when war seemed inevitable, their ability to see potential allies in bitter enemies, their conviction that cooperation was stronger than conflict. Princess Ara understood that now. So did Emperor Draxus, Ambassador Trell, and thousands of other aliens across the galaxy. The humans had arrived and they weren't going anywhere.